Welcome back to the Transplanting Podcast. My name is Bear, joined by the lovely Daphne with her gummy worm earring ring.
They are gummy worms. They're like
those are super cute.
Sour gummy worms.
Totally cute.
Yeah, I don't know. I was feeling gummy worms today, so we went with it.
I was wondering. I thought it was just something that I couldn't see well,
No,
but it is gummy worm.
They're sour gummy worms. That's the only way to go if you, I don't know. Gummy worms.
Gummy worms.
Gummy worms are like my favorite candy, so that's what I eat. Anyway, today we have SJ with us, and SJ, I came across you when I read your story across national news. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to just kind of, I don't know, where do we want to start? You want to just start off with your story and let's kind of hear a little bit about your story, and then we can break into what happened?
Sure. Yeah. Like my story as far as just kind of what I do for a living.
Oh, I mean, we could go there, or if, I don't know, if you have like a lot of people, they'll start off and just, they'll start off with, here's kind of how I felt growing up and work their way through that story. But I mean, you're not required to by any means. Whatever it is you're comfortable with.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So my name's SJ Jocelyn, and my story is kind of one that is centered around a person who really loves wildlife and has fallen victim to the plight of what the federal government is doing right now.
Yeah.
I actually grew up in a suburb outside of Sacramento, and it was a town called Folsom.
Yes.
And although it's pretty close to Sacramento, it's a pretty conservative area. And so a lot of who I am, I discovered kind of in college and post-college, because there was a lot of like, just kind of repressing yourself if you feel strange in your body or strange in your sexuality. And so Folsom's the kind of town where, like if someone wants to make fun of you, they'll call you gay.
Right.
And so you kind of are like, yeah, I'm not gay, you're gay, kind of thing. That actually happened a couple of times in high school to me. And so I grew up in Folsom, and then I went and did my undergrad at UC Davis, and I got a bachelor's of science in genetics. And it was kind of there where I came out and kind of really like started discovering who I was.
Yeah.
In kind of like a community of like acceptance. And I've kind of chased communities of people that are like diverse and accepting ever since having that kind of like really fundamental experience in Davis.
How do you come to the knowledge of being non-binary? Like how does that come about? Where you're just like, I don't know that I fit, or how does that work?
Yeah, there is, like growing up, there was no role models of being non-binary. I mean, it's really
Right.
a thing that has really recently kind of come to rise in like Anglo-Saxon culture. And we've just started using the pronouns they and them. And,
Right.
we were just talking about how, like everyone messes up they and them, including myself, because it's like, it's weird. How do you make that into a singular?
Yeah.
But it's kind of been a long drawn out process of like realizing that in certain ways I really identify with men, and in other ways I really identify with women, and like not knowing where to place those two things. And then with kind of this like recent kind of discovery or use of they them, it's kind of been like, oh, okay, that's where I sit, is somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And yeah, so it's like discussion. It was through discussions with people in my adult life, and then it was also through reading a book called "We Are Our Brains" by Dick Schwab,
Yeah.
who like that really was pretty fundamental in kind of solidifying that, like, oh, okay, like gender is a spectrum, and like where you are inside doesn't necessarily have to match what you were born, and that's okay, and that
Right.
variation exists within everyone.
And it's interesting, like when you find, someone explained something just in the right way, and all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, that's what I connect with. All of a sudden all these answers come about. You figure it out, and you go, oh, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was kind of a process of like people would, because when they and them first started being used, I can't remember how long ago, but pretty recent. People would be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I misgendered you as she," and it was so ingrained into my brain that I was a she that I was like, "Oh no, that's fine. It's totally fine." And then I think it was like 4 years before I was actually kind of like, "Yeah, actually, they is correct."
So
And
do you get offended when people come out and say she?
no, I think that it's a hard thing to shift, right? Is calling someone they if you are looking at them and they look like a perceived gender of male or female.
Right.
And so I never get upset. I just correct people and then move on, or they correct themselves and we move on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Well,
yeah,
apologies if I mess it up during the conversation.
yeah.
I will
Totally
do my
fine. We'll just
best.
keep going through. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being patient and understanding with us here. Okay, so you said UC Davis, and you were studying biology, is what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I studied genetics. I originally came in as an animal science major because I wanted to be a vet, but then I realized that like in veterinary medicine, you're actually dealing with a lot of people. And
Yeah,
so I became a researcher, so I just deal with animals and science.
fair
Um,
enough. Just an avid
yeah,
animal lover.
yeah, totally. Yeah, so I studied feline genetics when I was in my undergrad, and then I shifted into studying just like mammals in general. And then when I went back to school, I studied endangered species and focused in on an endangered species of fish in California called Delta smelt.
Delta. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now smelt are a smaller fish, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. A Delta smelt is like about the size of like your finger.
Right.
They're translucent. Translucent. They smell like cucumbers.
I was wondering what Delta smelled like.
Yeah.
Because I did not hear smelt. I heard that Delta smell,
Delta
and I'm
smelt
like,
and Delta.
oh, apparently it's cucumber.
Yeah.
Oh my god, cucumber.
Yeah. They were so in my PhD, they were declining towards extinction, and I was like, oh, we got to get more funding. We should like come out with like a Delta smelt candle line and like chapstick, and everything would just smell like cucumber.
Oh, okay. So I'm curious, how would something like the smelt going extinct affect Earth?
Yeah, so Delta smelt were at one point they were the most abundant fish in the San Francisco estuary, which is just between Sacramento and San Francisco.
Right.
And then through like the redistribution of water over the past 100 years, their populations have just been tanking. And so they're considered an indicator species because they have an annual like life cycle. And so they're an indicator species, and they're kind of an indicator for the health of the delta and what is to happen to fish that have a longer lifespan, like bass or salmon. Salmon have a 7 to 8 year lifespan,
Right.
or generation time is what we say. And so you'll start to see delta smelt going downhill because they're affected every single year, and
Right.
then you'll see the slower decline of these fish that have like a longer generation. And so, yeah, the redistributing of water has affected all of the fish, and we're seeing the slow decline of other fish now too.
Oh, I was trying to figure out what the sound was. It's a jet flying
Oh,
over.
yeah.
Okay, so am I correct to presume that the smelt are a feeder fish? They're the fish to supply other fish species then, and that's why you
Yeah,
can use it to detect.
yeah, they definitely feed other fish in the delta, and yeah, so they're kind of like in the middle.
It's like the plankton of freshwater fish.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So you specialize then in these fish?
Yeah, so okay. Yeah, so I like specialized in I actually did bioinformatics for my PhD, which is like genetics on a computer.
Okay.
So I assembled their genome, and then I was actually looking for sex markers in their genome. So like humans have chromosomes that dictate like if we have XY or XX are the
Yes.
two most common like yeah, sex chromosome setups, but we also have like XXO or
Yes.
yeah,
XXY and those.
exactly. Yeah, so we don't and that determines sex in
Right.
humans, right? And so we don't know what determines sex in delta smelt. And so the only way that you can like sample those populations and know what the health of the population is was through like killing a fish and then actually opening up and seeing if it has like semen inside or eggs inside.
Right.
And so you don't want to do that to a species that's going endangered. So an easier way to do that would be if you could get to the genetic underpinnings of what causes
Right.
sex in the fish. And so by assembling the genome, I was trying to see if they had sex chromosomes or if they had like little regions of their genome that was determining sex in the fish. And fish are like an incredibly old clade of organism, and so they have like they're amazing. So they have
I can see
every
your love of
way.
it. You're just
Yeah,
glowing.
yeah. So I never used to like fish until I started studying them, and I'm like, oh my god, they're amazing. Yeah, it's like they have so many ways of having different sexes or different genders within their populations. So
Yeah.
some are temperature dependent, other ones are genetic, other ones are based off of like population dynamics. So there are groupers who like if a male is killed, then the largest female fish will just switch sexes like midway through their life. And
Is that
so
common with all fish?
it's not, well, it's like it varies throughout the tree of life of fish. So it's kind of like a trait that we've seen pop up over and over again, where you have this like shifting depending on what the population needs. And it's just really cool because it could be genetic, it could be epigenetic, and yeah, there are fish that are like hermaphroditic, so they're two sexes at once. It's they express all of these different ways.
This
It's
conversation went a different road than I ever expected it to. I really didn't see it going this way.
yeah,
Okay.
but yeah,
We
yeah.
had a medical researcher on internal medicine come on a couple weeks ago, right? And they explained how sex is biologically determined, and it was fascinating. I don't know if you'd be interested, but it was a fascinating set of information, and maybe that would be something that might help you figure out fish.
Yeah, 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 and it's like it's really different, like from species to species. So
That's fair.
you like, yeah, yeah,
Okay. How This is really interesting because you'll hear a lot of people turn around and go, "Oh, well, sex, it's simple. You have male or female, and it doesn't account for things that are intersex." But then they turn around and go, "Well, look at because the Bible says so, and you can tell by looking at the animal kingdom, right? Two of every kind, male and female. So having animals that don't fit that narrative is fascinating that exists."
yeah, yeah. It's awesome. I mean, there are loads of different intersex fish. There's actually a book that goes into like kind of queer ecology. I think it's
Queer
and
ecology.
and
Right
and it
on. Right
explains
on.
about like yeah all of the different kinds of like fish that come up and like just their social dynamics and everything. And
Right.
it's interesting because like as humans, I mean any species really, you're limited by what you can perceive, right? And
Right.
so humans, we perceive a very narrow like scope of wavelengths of light. We're really like we determine how individuals communicate based off of how we communicate, which is like verbal, and then to some degree we have some kind of like signing cues. But if you look throughout the tree of life, there's all of these different ways of communication. There's all of these different ways of of perceiving the world. Some are more eye heavy, other ones are more ear heavy, and the same thing exists when you start looking at sexes within the animal kingdom. Like there's every expression possible.
Yeah.
Like you name it, like evolution has already thought of it, and something is like thriving. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I read an article in, I don't know, one of the papers a month ago that was talking about intersex birds and that they're starting to find a bunch of that. So I don't know, it just brings the question, like, you are what you eat, right? So the intersex fish are causing intersex birds, and that's where intersex people come from. That's the cause of it. I have solved humanity. This is what it is.
And it kind of makes me think of another article that I saw, and I don't know where it was, but it was talking about a giant tortoise named Jonathan, and how he's
tortoises?
gay. Yeah, the gay tortoise.
Yes,
and he's been with his favorite male partner in tortoise, Frederick, for a long time.
For like 60 years, wasn't it?
It's
been a long time.
And it's like, so now I'm hearing that, fish can just, I'm done, and just be, be the other gender. And it just goes to show that animals do it all the time.
I feel like there's a joke about gay turtles. Like, if not, there should be.
I'm sure there is.
If not, by the episode end, we will have one.
Yeah, you're going to figure it out.
2 gay turtles walk into a bar. Anyway, okay, so you were studying, I almost said gay fish. You're studying fish. And what I last read was that you were a bat researcher.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like to say that I like specializing in diverse organisms. So So I started my career studying mammals, and then I went into fish for my PhD, and then I transitioned back into mammals. So then I started studying specifically bats when I came and started working in Yosemite.
Okay.
And so bats are incredibly diverse, also gay. There have been many instances of gay bats being documented. But yeah, so we have a program here that I run, that I ran, called the Big Wall Bat Program. And Yosemite is a really amazing place because we have these 3,000-foot monoliths on either side of a valley. And there are all of these bats that live in the cracks along the walls. And historically, science kind of stopped when you reached the base of the wall because they couldn't conduct, bat researchers couldn't conduct any science by going up the wall because it's a really specific activity where you need to be highly trained in the art of ascending
and
rocks.
Is it protected to go up there?
It's not. Yeah, you can climb throughout the valley. It's just that most scientists aren't also climbers. And
right.
So what my program did was capitalize on that. A lot of people who want to work in Yosemite are also climbers because it's like a climbing mecca. And so we were taking all of these methods that normally were done on the ground, and we were taking them up, 2,000-3,000 feet into the air and carrying out those methods along cliffs.
Wow.
Yeah.
You would think that there might be an easier way, just drop a basket from a helicopter, I mean, if the basket's long enough, why not, right? Surely that wouldn't affect, if the helicopter's far enough up, wouldn't that mean the wind wouldn't be affecting the bats and you could do what you needed to?
No, because you have a lot of noise and disturbance in that way, and then you can't always get close into the wall. If you have an overhanging rock,
you're banging against the rock.
You wouldn't be able, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I read another article not long ago, and maybe you have an answer, it was a podcast. It was a podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about bats up in Montana in one of the parks there, and they were really They said they didn't know where the bats went in the winter because they had checked the caves and the bats wouldn't be in the caves, and they didn't know where the bats go in winter. So I really wanted to ask you, where do the bats go in winter?
Yeah, that's actually a really that's a hot topic or a hot question.
There's much debate.
Yeah.
People are throwing
That's like
arms up over it.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we don't know in the Sierra.
Okay, you don't know what?
Oh, we don't know in the Sierra either. So, a part of the program that we were trying to get funding for was to attach little radio tags to
Yeah.
bats, and then track them like after the first big storm when presumably they would go into hibernation.
Yeah.
But funding is really hard to get for bats because they've also kind of been
They
like,
fly away.
yeah, and they're perceived really negatively.
Right. They got
Mhm.
bats in the zoo up here in Portland, and it's in this cave, but the like little cave thing that they've built for them, right? And it's got these glass panels that go around, but the panels are so condensated that you can't really see the bats. But what you do see is it's really gross. But so what intrigues you about bats? Like why bats?
I think just because they're really diverse and they're really interesting. Like if we were to go on a hike, I could bore you or entertain you all the entire hike with bat facts. So
Information dump.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. They're exceptionally long lived. So the like longest lived bat that we know of, that's about like 5 to 6 grams, lived to be 42 years old.
Oh my God.
And that was just when it was recaptured. It wasn't even like it was dead after that. It was recaptured. It was still flying around.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's because they need to fly. They're very agile all the way until they're dead, right? Because they're having to like have this crazy metabolic expenditure in order to go and catch food, because
Yes.
they can eat up to 20% of their body weight in a given night, and they're doing all of these acrobatics in the air, and they're
Wow.
flapping their wings, and their heart rate is like sky high. And so they're a really interesting model organism for also like studying, the quality of life of an animal that's long lived, right? Like there's this like drive for humans, like we want to live longer and longer and longer, but it's, my grandma is 100 years old, and she's like, I felt dead when I was 80. And and she's like, and I just won't die for the last 20 years, and so if we could study bats, then maybe she wouldn't have felt that until she was 90 or
She
95.
just hasn't drank enough Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
That'll fix everything.
Yeah.
I always got a Dr. Pepper here with
Yeah.
me.
Amazing.
Dr. Pepper makes everything better.
It's true. Yeah.
Yes, I knew I liked you.
Yeah. I used to drink like 5 cans a day when I was a kid.
I tell everybody I don't have a problem. I got a solution. So.
Exactly.
Okay. So study of bats then it's more than just making sure that ecology stays the same, but it's also about finding other ways that it like, is there other science from bats that is affecting humans and how we understand humans?
There are loads of different avenues of research that are being done on bats. I think the whenever I go to try and talk to people about bats, the first thing that I say is that more of your life relies on bats than you actually think.
Okay.
Right. So bats are an incredible source of pest curtailment.
Yes.
Not only in forests, but also in agriculture land. So, or ag land. So there was a study that came out a couple of years ago now, and if you eliminate bats from a landscape, infant mortality goes up. And so that's a really odd association, right? But what the hypothesis is that So infant mortality goes up because you eliminate bats from a landscape, and then all of a sudden, ag land, you have to use more pesticides, and then there are more
Yeah.
pesticides in the air. And what do you? And so pregnant people will then, breathe in those pesticides, and it could affect their, their fetus in their belly, or that newborn infant. So it's like we don't have as many pesticides in the air because we have bats. And the same thing goes for forests, right? Like
Right.
everyone's always talking about how important birds are for the ecosystem. If you
Right.
eliminate bats from a landscape, from like an oak landscape, then herbivory goes up by 30%. And that's not good. It's not good for the trees. So they're
Why?
curtailing pests in the natural land because the herbivory goes up, and then these leaves that the trees are using for photosynthesis to be healthy are being eaten by insects.
Oh,
And like, yeah. So, some degree of that is good and healthy because you want insects in the landscape. And you want like a diversity of insects, but you don't want those insects to then like dominate. So
right.
it's bats play a really important role in like in the food web of all of these different ecosystems.
Fair enough. Okay, so earlier when we were talking about fish, you made a comment about fish and their gender and sex, right?
Mhm.
And I imagine this also applies with bats, but are animals aware of gender? Like, is that something we
That's
can know?
That's a great question. It's something that in when I was doing my PhD, I really harped on my lab for if you were listing, male, female in the species that we were working with, so as fish,
Yeah,
that you would always want to put sex because we can't have a conversation with fish yet. Maybe we can in the future.
right.
But it's not really something that like we can even comment on because we're just now learning how bats communicate to one another. Like we know the pitches in which bats communicate. So like when you come up to a baby, or maybe you do this, maybe you don't, if you like babies or not. But like when someone who likes a baby comes up to a baby and like wants to like be friendly, we go our pitch goes up, right?
Yes.
So or the inflection is like, oh, aren't you so cute, like look at your little face. And so when bats will do that exact same thing, and when they're speaking to their pups, but their
Oh,
inflection
wow.
goes down, so they'll go, oh, look at you, aren't you so cute. Which is really funny.
So, do you are you guys far enough along that you can translate what bats are saying? Because another article I read, right, is that they're starting to understand how dolphins speak to each other to the point that they're able to start translating some of that stuff. So, is that the same with bats?
I haven't looked at that field in the last couple of years, but there was a group who was taking like mass amounts of audio data to do that exact thing. Um, so
Yeah,
it is an active area of interest in
I would
research.
figure with AI, and the fact that audio is digitalized nowadays, that would be an option that you could sit here and break it down into numbers and be able to find patterns to express stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe maybe that's the thing they're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah. And it's just a matter of I haven't looked into it in a while, but I'm sure that they've made massive steps, or like steps of understanding in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the app you can use on a phone. Hold it up to a cat, have the cat meow, and it's like, oh, I'm hungry.
I want food.
Hello, scoop my
Pet me,
box,
demon.
please.
Yeah,
I love you right now. Love me. Yeah,
yeah,
kind of reminds me of that.
That's
yeah,
fun.
totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the article that I came across for you was that there was an event that happened, I believe, on El Capitan, and
hmm
that's where I discovered you. Do you want to kind of go over what happened?
Yeah. So on May 20th earlier this year, I hung the largest flag ever hung on El Cap. And I hung a large trans flag at the base of this really iconic feature on El Cap called Heart, the heart ledges. And so it's this giant like heart-shaped feature in the middle of El Cap. And we hung it, it was myself and 6 other people, and we hung it as like a symbol of like love and welcomeness for trans people outdoors. And just because our community was hurting so much at that point, it was a couple months after Trump had been inaugurated, and you know, there are all of these initiatives that continue to this day to try and, you know, target trans people and like demonize us, and just, you know, it was just like, we need something right now, and we need something that isn't going to hurt us, and isn't like explicitly isn't something that is saying, hey, Trump, this. We just wanted to have a symbol that was like, hey, trans people, this.
We love you.
Hey, everyone, this. We love you, and our identities are real, and they exist, and we are welcome outside.
You have a place.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a place. And everyone in Yosemite that I talked to after was so in support of the flag, and they still are to this day. Like, I live in Yosemite, and there's a trans flag a few houses down that someone hung after I got fired. And she's like, I will hang it for as long as we need to until you're reinstated, because like, we want trans people to know that they are welcome here, and that, you know, whatever happened to you with the firing is not what Yosemite thinks. It is purely a message from Washington.
Right.
And that is so far from what Yosemite thinks.
Right.
So yeah, we hung the flag for 2 hours. We affixed it to a rope that was then attached to the rock with temporary, they're called cams, which are pieces of equipment that will like go into a crack, and then you can take them out of the crack, and they don't affect the rock at all. So we strung a rope across the like base of this feature, and then we kind of shower curtained the flag out. And it was a huge flag. It's 35 by 66 feet.
Oh my God.
And yeah.
How much did that weigh?
58 pounds.
Oh my God. How do you climb the mountain like that to go hang something like that with 58 pounds of cloth hanging off of you?
Yeah. So what you kind of do is you climb up a little ways, and then you make an anchor, and the bag with the rope will be down here, and then you haul it up. So you're like hauling it up to you, and then you'll climb up a little more, and then you'll haul it up to you. So it's kind of this like snail tactic, or what is it, inchworm?
Yeah, I can follow that.
Inchworm.
So I was about to say, I don't know, you're the biology specialist here.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to hang the flag?
Including ascending up to the ledges.
Yeah.
It was probably about 6 hours.
Whoa. 6 hours up, you hold it for 2, and then you come down?
Yeah.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm. That's like a 14-hour day. Yeah, it was a long day. We were so excited, and to just like be underneath it and watch it kind of like slowly waving in the morning's light. Because when it first like shower curtained out, it was in the shade, and then the light slowly was cast on it. So at one point there was light on the flag, but there wasn't light on the wall, and it was just like beautifully glowing. It was amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. And I've seen some pictures of the event that happened, and you had more people. It wasn't just you that was up there, right? How many people were there?
There were 6 other people up there.
That's a big crew. But 58 pounds of
58 pounds of flag. Yeah, you're gonna need some people.
they hang the.
You're gonna need a few.
What did you call the piece that you stick in the rock?
Oh, a cam.
The cam. They put the cam in, and then 3 of them jump off the mountain to haul it. That's what I'm picturing. They just go, here we go. As they go down, the flag comes up.
Like a carnival ride.
Okay. So there were 7 of you then that went up and hung this thing, but it seems like, and if I remember correctly, you weren't the only park ranger that was in that group. But were you the only one fired for it?
Yeah, so I was the only one who was fired. The other two people weren't fired.
Were they given, I guess, was there repercussions because they helped you at least, or was it just they all threw it on you?
They were put on administrative leave, which they're
Okay.
still on administrative leave right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but other flags get hung on Yosemite all the time, or they were at least. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Flags get hung. Flags have been hung on El Cap for as long as people have been
El Cap,
climbing El
not
Cap.
Yosemite. Yosemite is the
Oh,
park.
That's all right. Yeah. For as long as people have been climbing El Cap. There was one flag that was hung. I want to say it was in 2022. Maybe it was slightly earlier than that. No, it was during the first Trump presidency, and it was on the wall for 14 days, and it said the only war should be on climate change.
Okay.
There was another flag that was hung in 2024. These are just the large ones that come to mind. That said stop the genocide. That was in 2024.
So are they always
There's
progressive?
yeah, there's a lot of progressive climbers.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then the other flag, the most recent flag outside of the trans flag was an upside down American flag. So actually, the flag that we hung was the only flag that wasn't a political ideology. It was just a flag of identity and acceptance. And it's also the only flag that has had repercussions because this administration is turning identities into ideologies. And so it's this like, it's this really fucked up shifting and
Yeah.
targeting of trans people, not only like, in policy, but now, at a more local scale of just like continuing to like, I don't know, create whatever demonization they see fit for, making whatever story they want to tell. I don't know.
I
It's
can hear
something
your
that I can't
frustration there.
yeah.
Yeah, well, there was an investigate. I recently learned that there was an investigation into the upside down American flag, which, like, if you hang an upside down American flag, you are saying, "I believe this country is in a state of disarray."
Yeah.
Like that is your belief, and like, what are you saying when you hang a trans flag? You're just celebrating
You
an
belong.
identity.
Yeah.
You belong, yeah, and so like so there was an employee who hung the upside down American flag, and he didn't get fired. And there was an investigation in the same way that there was an investigation into the trans flag, but I got fired, and the other two employees are put on administrative leave.
Right.
So really, what this is doing is it's just targeting our First Amendment rights.
It's just a political message.
Exactly.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong also. I do a lot of reading, it appears. I read though that it wasn't against any rules when you hung it, but it was like a week later that all of a sudden it became a rule, or not even a rule, but a week after it, whatever, is when Trump finally said something, and then rules started changing. So it wasn't against anything, and maybe I'm projecting here, but is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's actually even more egregious than that. So we hung the flag on May 20th. On May 21st, they issued a rule that said that there can be no flags hung on El Cap or in wilderness areas that are larger than 3 by 5 or 15 square feet.
Okay.
And the acting superintendent, and an acting superintendent is someone who's temporarily in a position, tried to backdate it to the day that we hung the flag. So he tried to make it seem as if the rule existed when we hung the flag.
Right. So is that what the firing was about? Was that the flag was too big? Or was it just that it got hung?
It was, so what they said, and this is, again, there's been no precedent for this, is they said that we had a demonstration in a non-First Amendment zone. And so our flag counted as a demonstration, but no other flags counted as demonstrations. And the thing that makes me really upset about this is our flag was hung for 2 hours between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. So like low visitor usage time, hung for 2 hours in an area that's actually quite hard to see unless you're specifically
Right,
looking.
because I saw the picture of
And
it.
yeah, and the other flags have been hung in really high visibility areas. One was hung during Firefall, which thousands of people come to the park just for Firefall. So it was hung multiple days in a row, but that wasn't deemed a demonstration. Ours was deemed a demonstration. And so it's this like I can't reconcile what those two things mean with one another because it's so hypocritical and it's so unfair. And it's, if we had even been verbally told, hey, Yosemite workers, no more flags on El Cap. We are trying to issue guidance on not hanging large flags on El Cap.
Right.
We wouldn't have hung the flag because it's against a rule. But there weren't any rules, and there was precedent for it being okay. So like, it's upper management. It's the people who run the parks. It's people who like create all of the rules. It's their responsibility to tell us what we can and can't do so that we can follow those orders or those rules, because we want to do a good job. I want to do a good job. I want to
Right.
keep taking care of Yosemite wildlife. Yosemite is my heart and soul. I write guidebooks to Yosemite. My whole life is centered in this place. And so I'm not going to jeopardize my job to hang a flag if someone says, "Hey, we're not having flags anymore." I would think of some other way to get a message out. And maybe that would involve the park and maybe it wouldn't have. But I do follow the rules because I do care. And then now they just retroactively say, "Hey, all of this is actually not okay. And we're going to make you into, an example."
So,
And
I
yeah.
Yeah. You spoke first.
No,
Did
no,
you?
no, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that whole situation, must have been very insulting to you. And I did want to ask you when you did, when you were, fired, were you, obviously you're not going to be okay with that, but how was your mental health? Like, did you immediately get angry and you were ready to fight this, or did you take some time to really just breathe?
yeah, so the whole process was kind of drug out over a few weeks. I knew that I was supposed to meet with the acting deputy superintendent of the park. So again, another person who had temporarily been put into a position that's like the second highest position in the park. I knew that I was going to meet with her for 3 weeks, but the meeting kept getting pushed back. And the only reason that the second highest person would want to meet with me, this is what my brain went to, is if some drastic action were going to take place.
Right.
So in my mind, that was a 30-day suspension or it was being fired. And I'm not stupid. I know what this government is.
Right.
And so I assumed I was going to get fired. And for those 3 weeks, I was just a nervous wreck. And then at the time of when I was called into her office and she handed me a letter that I had to read to say that I was terminated,
Right.
I was enraged and I was sad. I wanted to cry and I wanted to yell. I asked her a few questions that she didn't answer.
Right.
If she understood how negatively this would affect the Yosemite community, or if she understood that I was being fired for hanging a flag of acceptance and welcoming people outdoors. And she just kind of pushed it all off.
Right.
And then after the meeting, I think the best way I could describe it, because so much of my identity was in my profession with the Park Service,
Yeah.
I just felt like I lost the love of my life. And
Yes.
I felt, yeah. And I entered into this like grieving process. And I think for a day and a half, I just lied on my floor with my head down, oscillating between crying and just being utterly stunned. And then when all of the reporters started calling me, I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to get my story out there so that I might get reinstated and people might hear this, and maybe the ACLU gets involved, maybe NPS just realizes what a mistake this was, and that people make Danica and Ray's life annoying because they did something that no one supports in this community. And I helped out in many different areas, not just in wildlife. Like I would help with like issuing Half Dome permits or doing traffic, and I was like SAR certified and like could help with SARs. And so
Right.
I like want to give back to the community in so many different ways. And when I put my uniform on, like I don't care what anyone's background is. The only thing I care about is instilling this sense of awe that I get every time I see El Cap, every time I see any of the monoliths in the park, like Half Dome or Sentinel. And that's what matters to me. And so to like have all of that taken away was just like, it felt like the biggest hole in my heart that they could have possibly punctured. And
Kind of like a loss of identity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's there's so many aspects of my identity that were tied into that too, because it's like, not only was it like, my identity as a wildlife biologist in the park or someone who contributes to the park, but it was also this sense of attack on my identity into like my gender identity.
Right.
And so it was like, it just hurt. And yeah. And so I at first I was just mourning, and then I kind of went through this state of like extreme anger, and I was just angry. And I was like, I want everyone in the world to write Danica and Ray an email, and I want their inboxes to be so full and them to be so annoyed, and like egg their fucking house. I don't care,
I mean, that's part of the grieving process, though, is that there's the different steps like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then and I think that like having the media be interested in what was happening was like helpful to like kind of fuel that anger. And then since then, I've kind of been in this state of like pretty extreme depression and like just comparing everything to, like, oh, I'm looking for jobs right now. And every job that I see, I'm just like, I hate it. It's not what I had,
your love in life.
Yeah, like I got to study animals and I got to go rock climbing for work. And I got to manage people who did that as well. And so I got to like support the people that I managed. And I also got to be outside in this beautiful place. And I also got to work with data. And like those are all of my passions.
Yeah.
And like, now I'm like, well, do I go into tech? And like, that sounds terrifying and corporate and not what I'm interested in. And we make all of these like sacrifices to live in places like Yosemite, and we support, like we choose that every day. And now I don't really know where I am. So I feel pretty lost, and I feel pretty depressed most of the time right now.
And rightfully so.
Do you think it's going to be an option at some point for you to recover this job that you love so much? Do you think there's a possibility you could recover?
I think in like the proceeding of how the government works normally, yes, but I have such a lack of faith in our government right now that I don't know what's going to happen in 3 years. So I'm not sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been just honestly in awe with this story, like I noticed when we first got on, you're happy, you're cheerful. And then as we start talking about fish and the gay fish, yes. and yeah, so you were just lighting up and just this big glow on your face, and you got this big grin, and life is just so good, and clearly you're passionate about what it is that you're doing. But then as we talk about this area where clearly you've been, I'm going to say targeted. Yeah,
Totally targeted.
right. And so when I see that, I can just see the pain that comes in, and I can hear it in your voice. And I mean, you have love that's been taken away from you, and that just tears at your soul. So like my heart goes to you, because I can see the difference. And I've also been in a similar position where something that I was I don't want to say in love with, but I don't know, what would you call it, Bear, where I was just so attached to it, and then it was taken away.
Again, passionate, gung-ho, or, just, excited. And
Yeah. I mean, it wrecks you. I ended up in the hospital for a couple weeks after that, and then that's where the podcast was born out of. But I don't know, my heart goes out to you, and I would love for there to be a way for you to get this back. There was a lot of reports, or not reports, but after the story came out, there was a lot of comments that happened about, oh, you guys were defacing the rock, and this was this big issue. But I mean, clearly you guys weren't defacing it. This was a way to protect the rock, but then still be able to show your thing. It wasn't against any rules, so it's not like you were out there just, I don't know, tearing things up or
yeah, and,
I don't know.
And oh,
gummy worm just went for
we lost a gummy worm.
we lost the gummy. The gummy worm inched away. It's an inchworm now.
I wish that didn't happen, because now I don't remember my question. I look over and there's a gummy worm.
I don't know. I don't remember where we were going with that.
I don't either, 'cause the gummy worm happened.
I think I can kind of comment on what you're saying.
Yeah.
And also, first, I'm so sorry that like you lost your passion and what you're gung ho for too.
Things happen.
Fucked up. But yeah, so with like, I am a climber. I have climbed El Cap multiple times. I'm also like lover of animals, and so when you go to do something on a rock face, you're having to make sure that you're not affecting any of the things that occur in that place, right? So what occurs on walls? Climbing, and there is wildlife that is there.
Right.
So, when we were going to affix the flag, we made sure, that we weren't disturbing any animals. We also made sure that anyone who was going to be climbing in the area could pass by and not touch the flag at all. There was actually a pair of Canadian climbers that were up on the wall, and they thought it was so cool. And we were calling, so you could rappel behind the flag, and the flag would be in front of you. And we were calling it the trans tube. They were like, we're rappelling in the trans tube.
I love that.
Trans tube. That's amazing.
Yeah, they were so excited. Yeah. And so, people will say that we defaced nature, and I will argue that Mount Rushmore defaced nature, because
that's
what's
a solid
still
argument.
there today, tomorrow, just some old dudes' faces. Yeah.
I saw a cartoon the other day, okay? And the cartoon says the backside of Mount Rushmore from the Canadian side, and you just see a bunch of asses sticking out the other side of the mountain. I mean, I caught Bear's funny bone with that one. Okay, so how was it having this blow up into a national headline? Like, would you rather have it been a quiet thing that you just move on with and have those discussions, or were you glad that it became a national story?
Yeah, I was glad it became a national story, because the more media that it gets, the more people who see that there was this like amazing symbol of love and welcoming outside and in Yosemite, and that sentiment still stays in our community. And when I say our community, I mean the community of Yosemite and the trans community.
Right.
And And so I've had people contact me that have said that they're trans and they want to become a ranger and that they would be interested in working in Yosemite.
Aw.
And I've had kids contact me that say that they are in Florida and that their family doesn't support them and
Yeah.
that they think about killing themselves every day and that the flag reminds them that there are other people out there. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, between all of the messages of positivity that I've gotten, I am so glad it was, not only national news, but international news, because I feel like that message was important to get out. And,
Yeah.
yes, my job was affected in the process of doing that, but I think that what is more important than my job is people's lives. And if it saved one person's life, then it was worth it. And
I mean, you're
yeah.
changing the world in quite a
Mm-hmm.
literal way, where you're
Yeah.
you're showing people that they are there. You've made a mark on the world that has shown a lot of people that they are seen and they're loved, and that came from you. You
Mm-hmm.
made a difference. Along with all the good messages that you're receiving, there's probably been a storm of negative ones also. How are you dealing with all of that?
Um, yeah, it hit or miss on the day. The the messages that comment on like my genitals or on who I
Wow.
am are actually like easier to deal with than the ones that comment on if I deserve to have my job or not. And I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I know that people know nothing about my body because and they know nothing about me. you know and so and actually it's been, some of them are kind of fun because they'll be like, silly boy, you'll never be a woman, and I'm like, exactly the point. you know and and I'm like, that is non-binary, thank you. and um and, and so like, yeah, that kind of situation is like, I don't know. For some reason in my mind, I'm like, that is easier to deal with, and I expected it more than I expected people to be like, you deserve to lose your job. I wouldn't ever hire you. You know?
Okay. Having to deal with the negative comments and that kind of stuff, we understand where that's coming from because we also receive negative negative comments about
Yeah.
everything that's going on here with us also. We feel and sympathize with your situation because we're experiencing a lot of the same things. So I haven't been
Mm-hmm.
fired for this, but
No.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, in very real ways, we've gone through experiences that have been similar in nature, anyways, to what it is that you're going through, and so we feel we feel for you. We can sympathize with you. What would you tell the people that are coming in, they're showering messages of either disgust or disgrace or whatever messages? What would you tell them? Just if you were to offer them a message, what would it be?
Yeah, I hope that they would be more open-minded, but it would also be that, you know, that we're just people and we just want to exist as people, and we're not out here to try and cause any kind of attention to us. It's just because they're putting the attention on us that we have to say something and we
Yeah,
have to respond.
right.
And if they're scared of us, then they should just have a conversation with us, because they'll understand that we're not scary people. We're actually very accepting.
Right. Well, and fear is driven by ignorance. And so
Exactly.
the way you combat fear is by learning and growing, and that is how you make a difference.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
I'll just add in that that's a large part about why I love studying bats, is because I will enter into conversations with people that are afraid of bats. And by the end of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation, they you know,
like,
they
"Oh,
might
look
not
how
want to
cute
hold
it
a bat.
is."
Yeah, but they're at least like, you know what? I'm into sky puppies. Yeah,
Sky
they should be
puppies.
around.
Sky puppies.
I
Yeah,
love that. I don't
yeah.
know.
And so,
I'm picturing
yeah,
like seagulls being sky puppies because they're just like food. I'll be your best friend. Just feed me.
yeah,
Okay, so sky puppies. That's cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I just see a parallel in like those spaces of like, it's just people don't understand. And so if they're afraid, then try to understand.
yeah, yeah, for sure. You said that you're receiving a lot of messages from kids in Florida and other trans people that are inspired by what it is that you did and the mark that you've made on the world. What kind of messages would you give out there for other trans people that are in a similar situation where they're scared, they're in an environment where they don't feel safe being themselves, or they're just unsure because of the way politics is going, they're unsure of their place in the world? What would you tell them? What message would you offer them?
That's a great question, and one that I feel like shifts by the day because, you know, if you would have asked me that 2 months ago, I would have said, you know, I think I would have been a little bit more hopeful. But I think that the one thing that persists throughout all of this is that we have a community all throughout the country. And just because you're not running into people every single day doesn't mean that we're not there and that you can't reach out and that there aren't various initiatives to help support the community. And if you're feeling like you're really isolated, even if you have to do it in private because, you know, your parents don't support it or something, like there are ways that you can reach out to feel safer and to feel like there are people around, and just and kind of have that sense of like mentorship of like, hey, I went through this, I'm actually still going through this, and here's what I do, and have conversations with people and learn about how different people kind of deal with different facets of what we're going through right now. And I think if you're scared, that's reasonable. I'm scared. I think that pursuing any kind of like, I need to move here or do this is reasonable. And yeah, I think that whatever you're like the thing that I would say is whatever you're feeling is real, and that other people are feeling it too. And so to try and, you know, find a way to have a conversation with people by reaching out, is the biggest thing that I would recommend.
Yeah. SJ, you've just been so incredibly kind to come out here, even just to respond to the message. I really didn't think you were going to respond. I thought there was going to be so much hate mail that I was just going to get lost in the middle. So you responding and being so agreeable to come on here has just been, it's been really nice, and I appreciate it. I also am just in awe at the amount of empathy and kindness that I can just feel coming off of you. I mean, clearly you carry just a huge love for animals and people, and I don't know, I think you're a light in a world that is really dark right now, and I think a lot more people need to be around people like you. So
Thanks.
yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and this was awesome. It was great meeting you both.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Barry, you want to end us here?
Yeah, again, you know, thank you, SJ, so much. I can't believe that fucking happened to you.
I thought Bear was going to cry for a second there.
No, God, I wanted to, but it's just, I'm okay. This is okay. We're fine.
You have to love Bear because he's a bear.
Yeah.
But no, thank you everyone for tuning in with us today and hearing SJ's story. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, all the socials.
Okay, actually though, real quick before
Okay.
before we end this, I got one more question.
Mhm.
Is there a way that people that want to support you can help support you?
Yeah, there is. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. I have a list of people to email that I will give to the podcast.
Perfect.
Sure.
I this is kind of a more delicate subject because I didn't create this and I don't want it to be perceived in a way where I'm actually like trying to get this. But there is a GoFundMe to help supplement for some of my living expenses that my old coworkers created for me. So I can also give you that. But if you don't want to,
no, send all of it to me. I will
Yeah.
tag it all
Okay.
in the comments and whatnot.
Okay, awesome. And there's also a petition to sign to get me reinstated. So I can send you all of those links.
Yes, please do. We will make
Great.
sure to add that in the descriptions and everything, so it'll all be there for you.
Awesome.
And don't forget that we have merch, and you can find us at transplantingpodcast.com. And if you yourself, would like to be a guest on our podcast, it's Daphne at transplantingpodcast.com. And hey, we'll see you next time. And as always, welcome to the family.